this is one of those things where I would tell you, I am not a martial artist, and I'm proving it to you right now by how I'm thinking about things, but also how I'm delivering them to you. There's martial, which means military, right? There's art, which is being inspired and painting really large pictures. And like I tell Jason all the time, the job of the artist isn't to give people what they want, it's to give them what they never knew they needed. It's to give them complex feelings and contexts that challenge their view on life. If they wanted a picture, they could go to a copy machine. So with that, I'm going to speak to you in two different ways. And like I told you earlier, the answer has always been there. So if you were to ask me what I'm about to teach you, how important is it? I would tell you it's this important. So 20 years ago, I started training FCS. And 2 years in, 18 years ago, I took control of my group. And this is what I picked for my logo. Those are dragon wings, right? Dragon wings wrapped around the FCS logo. This concept I'm teaching you right now is called how to turn a technique into a dragon. That's how important it is. And it also shows you that I have never stopped thinking a certain way for the last 20 years, right? I've only gotten better at how to functionalize those ways of thinking and how to transmit them. So in stress, as a, like I told you earlier, what you want to ask a master, what you want to ask a person that's really good and anybody that's got a skill set is you want to ask them how they think of themselves. That gives away the magic. If you get caught up in the details, it's like, you know, like, what, do you want to be right or do you want to be a wizard? It's like, that's the question I would ask you, right? Do you want to wield crazy stuff or do you want to be like a collector of information? And so I'm going to talk to you two ways. If you ask me how I think of myself as an instructor, a manong, all right, I would tell you that I, as a martialist, am a operator. I am on the field doing my thing. I am the operator, the operator. The operator, not a operator, the operator, right? If I talk to you about, we'll use music, and you ask me, hey, if you're an artist, then what's your view of yourself as a manong? I would tell you that I am the conductor, okay? I move, and I put things where I need them to be. And this idea stems from these things that we talk about, fish bowls, the legend of the goldfish grows to the size of the bowl, and you keep getting a bigger bowl and a bigger bowl, and one day it grows into a dragon, right? And with a dragon, a goldfish can like wiggle its tail and there's like a little blub blub. But if a dragon wiggles its tail, the ocean moves and then there's a tornado on the other end of the earth. That's the difference. It's the same thing, but seen through a collage of complexity is what I'd say as an artist. And as a fighter, I would tell you that it's unconditional technique, which also means that there is no technique, right? It's being the driver. So what I'm going to do for you right now, and this is like my gift to the new generation of instructors, every time there's a new generation, I always give a gift. If it's like, hey, let's design a blade together. Hey, if it's, you know, let's talk about some artistic ideas together. What I'm trying to do, my job, is to get them to get out of their fishbowl. It's to turn them into a dragon. And Ray even said, Jason was there one day, we were talking, Ray told me I think more like him than anybody on the planet. But we do have differences. We are different. I have different preferences, and I'm of a different disposition. I just go to a different place with it. And Ray made a comment to me about, oh, well, with your classes, you should probably do this and that. And I told him, I'm not in the business of running classes. I'm in the business of releasing dragons on the earth to see what's going to happen next. Like, that's my job. So when we look at this process, we're going to take something super stupid, simple, a move. And today the request was rump it up. And I'm going to show you how you take a move and you turn it into a dragon. And we are going to use the curriculum as the vehicle. Actually, we're going to use Rumpita itself as a vehicle. I'm going to pick the energy based on the level because each level of FCS has a specific energy source or a certain idea that drives the level, a certain flavor. And then I'm going to take this move and I'm going to break all the fish bowls. We're going to build a kingdom and burn it down all in about 4 minutes, right? So level one, first things first is level one is basically like, don't get hit. How do you do a strike? How do you come back? As an operator, that's it. I'm going to tell you, don't get hit. Basics, cover up. And two, how to strike. As a musician, I would tell you, you're going to be dealing in one-for-one rhythms. I go, he goes, I go, he goes, right? One for one. People fight like that. He goes, I punch, he punch, I punch, right? And this is Rumpida here. It comes from modern arnis. That's not important. The movement's important, okay? This is the movement because it's a 2-stick movement on double stick. That's the goldfish, all right? Now we're gonna turn it into a dragon by breaking all the bowls of all the levels, right? Level 1, what's the point? That's what we're asking, right? Level 1 is how to cover up, how to strike. So now Chris comes in, he's got a weapon. Let's just keep a stick for consistency. Here's what I'm looking at. If I look at this motion, right, and I'm talking about vehicles, okay, this is my vehicle, just the simple move of rumpida, all right? 2 sticks, 1 stick, doesn't matter, no sticks. Doesn't matter, this is the vehicle, all right? All I gotta do is block and strike. Chris comes in with a shot. Okay, good, there's my strike. Chris comes in with a shot, there's my strike. Comes in with a whatever angle, doesn't matter, because I'm just dealing on 1 for 1. There's my strike with a basic footwork. Now I just add in basic footwork, right? Okay, there's nothing outside of level 1 here because it's just application, check hand ranging, striking and blocking, nothing complicated. And now I just integrated a level 1 disarm by doing this motion. Level 2, what's the point? What's the flavor? What's the energy, the mindset behind level 2? Level 2, once I have my basic how to strike, how to hit, I learn combinations or I learn counter offense. If Chris strikes at me and I look at this as a counter offense, now there's my umbrella because I'm not thinking in terms of 1 for 1. If I'm a musician, I'm playing things based on 2 for 1, which is a half beat. Bop, 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 bop. So everything's got this, whether it's an umbrella, bop, bop, there's my bop, bop, right? Whether it's whatever the hell it is, he comes in with it, I don't really care. I'm just working counters, bop, bop, right? That was a sunk it, bop, bop. I just didn't want to hit him in the eye and be a dick, okay? So now as he's coming through, bop, bop, boom, right? I'm just using my footwork to get these half beats. Right there, I bypass the same motion. There's my deflection. He comes in a different line. There's my deflection, right? Rumpida, level 2. It can be that simple, right? But I can't do that if I can't do this. If I can't block, I can't block and strike at the same time. That's all an umbrella is. Is that a redondo or is that a block? It's like, yeah, you're just learning how to do both at once. Okay, next, I go to my next fishbowl, level 3, where we have all the modern arnis stuff, all the double stick. And what I'm starting to learn is how to apply this in multiple ranges while still holding all the things that the previous fishbowls gave me. So we look at transition drills. Transitions of what? Transitions of range, largo, medio, corto, back to medio, back to corto. Whether I want to go left, whether I want to go right, whether I want to go from right to left or left to right. That's all the transition drills are. And whether I want to do it like this or if I want to do it like this. But I can do it both ways because it doesn't matter. Because at this point, I just know that I have a vehicle and it's just a matter of where do I want to drive. And now that I have the energy of 1 and 2, the engines, I can take it somewhere new. So if I want to look at it like a transition drill, I'll scale this motion as he comes in from largo to medio to corto, and he comes back in again, back into largo. He comes in with a shot, largo to medio to corto, back out to largo. And he doesn't have to stop because if I have the controls in place, it doesn't matter. Because that's all modern arnis is control, okay? So when I look at transition 1, I'm going center line, hi, boop, there's my puño, right? When I look at transition 2, I'm just going outside, there's my transition, he comes back through, hey, if I go 3, I'm just going inside, and he comes back in, there we go. If I'm looking at 4, I'm looking at going from this side, keep going, doesn't matter what there it is, to this side, and on 5, I'm just going from side to side. Same move, right? Just building in complexity. The other thing that happens, now I get my Jason and he grabs a stick. If I can scale ranges in front of me, I also need to be able to scale them in back of me. So I have harap-lakad, which just means forward and back. And now I can take this technique and I can use the same idea to come forward and to come back. Just go ahead and swing. Doesn't matter. It's easy if you're just trying to attack me.
We're just swinging.
So as I'm here and I come through this way, now I can just use the same move, forward and backwards. Or I can transition. He keeps coming in, right? He keeps coming in, and I just keep moving, moving, moving. Forward and backwards. Simple. Cool. So now my dude goes away, and I've shown that I can do basic how to strike 1 for 1 if I'm a musician. I've learned my basic half beats or how to strike and hit at the same time. If I'm a musician, I'm using half beats. I've learned how to scale on the piano. I can go from one part of the guitar all the way down to the bottom and not lose my notes or my rhythms, right? And if I'm talking to you as a fighter or as an operator, I can be effective in all ranges, front, back, side to side, right? Or from one side to the other. Simple idea. Now in 4 is where all the combatives are. All the fighting styles of FCS exist in level 4. It's what it's for. They're all death styles. Like every single one of them was used for destruction. Choose the form of your destroyer, right? Never lose your identity. That's ridiculous. So you don't lose your identity and you know what it's actually for. It's a vehicle for violence. And if you're looking at it like a musician, it's a vehicle to play a song, a vehicle for sound. Then what does it matter, right? So now on 4, I start to learn how to put it all together. So I have all this stuff where I have to start to free flow. So I can actually keep this idea, and then I'm going to let Chris drive me. He's just going to feed me free flow. And then when he's here, I'm going to keep going. There's my rumpy-da. I'm just doing rumpy-da. Right? So oh, shit. Okay, rumpy-da. There you go. So as he flows, I can inject the move at any time, and I can keep my flow but not lose the identity of the technique, of the vehicle, of the song I'm trying to play. I'm just going to, as I can, work my rumpy-da. Because even if I don't understand the pattern, I know that my feet help me to not be in the way. Right? So that's what we're looking at on that front. So now that I can flow, which basically means that I can play with somebody else, they are the conductor and I can follow, I can change, I can take that basic vehicle and I can put it wherever I want it within 3D space, and also based on timing. I'm not looking at it anymore like my scales, just like in music. I'm looking at it now like I can play a song with somebody else. Maybe Chris is better than me, so I'm playing bass. So I'm just playing not as fast, not as complicated, but I am playing. And level 5, we start to learn how to get refined. We start to learn things like how to control the flow. So if I can control the flow, it means that when Chris comes in, I can stop what he's doing at any time, and I'm just going to use the vehicle of rumpy-da to do it. If I want to think of it like a musician, I just steal the music. He has a song he's playing. I find a point where I can land on one of his beats and I can change the music. Dueling pianos, right? But now I'm not limited to number 1. On level 1, I would just be blocking or striking. On level 2, I could do deflections. On 3, it wouldn't matter what range I was in. On 4, it wouldn't matter how he comes in. I can deal with it. On 5, I'm just injecting it because I can control the flow. And this amazing thing happens where I go from one fishbowl and my little baby fish, my rumpy-da, goes from being able to do a little bit to now it can do twice as much, to now it can go anywhere it wants, to now it can basically follow something that has no pathway that's discernible for the most part, to being able to control the situation based on its own preferences. And we get into this conversation Ray says about what he expects from his instructors is to wield the art. And I'm going to tell you, here's the secret. If you've done that, it will do it by itself. It shows up as an after product, a byproduct of being able to do that. It isn't something you shoot at. It isn't something you aim for. It's something that happens when you are looking at things functionally and you're letting them dry. And when you can do that, I can just stand here and no matter what Chris throws at me, I can make my fish land in any fishbowl that he presents me with. And that fishbowl can change. Maybe Chris isn't a striker. Maybe he's a grappler. Maybe he comes in with something up close, right? And I can still use those principles to use a disarm from rumpy-da to turn it into a takedown. And now, all I did was change the fishbowl in reaction to how he came to me. Now I'm not bound by any specific range. I'm not bound by any specific idea. I'm not bound by a specific rhythm because my rumpy-da isn't a goldfish, it's a dragon. And that is why 20 years ago, 18 years ago, I picked dragon wings around the FCS logo. And that shows you, I never stopped training the same way. The funny thing is that's how everybody used to train. I just jumped on board with like people. And the thing about it is that even when times change, if you're a dragon, you don't, because you're timeless. And so there's the question at hand. That's me as an instructor. But after 20 years of driving that ideas, I can tell you that I have 9 black belts. I teach 12 styles of martial arts. I've been training for 34 years. And there is no separation in those things for me. Why did I land on FCS? Why did I land in the umbrella of Filipino martial arts? Because there's no segregation, because there's free flow, because Kali literally means in FCS to flow like a river. And so it allowed me to use that principle in ways that I was not limited by the culture or the area that I was in. So if you ask me now as who I am, you ask me who I am as a guru, I'm going to give you a different answer from who I am. But I'll tell you, I'm a martialist and I'm also a artist. But if I was to say more accurately, because you can't really describe some things with a limited language, I would say that if you asked me who I was and I was to tell you how I view myself and what I'm doing as a musician, as an artist, I would tell you that I'm Beethoven. And why? Because my art is hilarious. It's ironic to me. What is funnier than a deaf dude that's able to take 5 notes, dun, 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 and build castles in the sky beyond what anybody else could possibly do who also can't hear? Right? It's the story of how in my experience, the exception proves the rule, but the exception is also like the highest level of a thing. And it doesn't make sense, but it makes perfect sense.